This is Daniella,
Your niece. Your niece.
Annie's daughter.
Well done.
Okay, what is it again?
I am your niece. Yoel, Esther, and Micha are my cousins.
All right.
Does that make sense
I'll
now?
try to remember.
I'm sorry that I don't have Dutch translations the way Teka so kindly made an English translation for Afia for me. Anyway, I was thinking about Rosh Hashanah is coming up in a week and a half. Get ready. And I was thinking about one of the verses that we have from the Haftarah, and that is repeated throughout the Rosh Hashanah liturgy. Haben yakir li Ephraim im yeled sha'ashuim ki midei davrei bo zachor eskerenu od alken hamu me'e lo rachem arachmenu neum Adonai. Truly Ephraim is a dear son to me, a child that in the English translation is dandled, but that doesn't even mean anything to me, that was rocked on my knee. Whenever I turned against him, my thoughts would earnestly dwell on him still. That is why my heart yearns for him. I will receive him back in love, declares God. In the Talmud, in Tractate Megillah, it teaches that the Jewish people are supposed to read this verse on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. The verse was chosen because it emphasizes the theme of remembrance. God remembers the sweet and tenderness between God and the Jewish people. Like a father who recalls that even though his adult child may be a disappointment to him today, he remembers the good times when he tenderly rocked the child on his knee. The Jewish New Year begins, as I said, in about a week and a half. In synagogue, we'll repeat this verse throughout the service. As I was thinking about this Stolperstein ceremony today, this verse came to me. First, because the verse speaks on the theme of memory, which is what we're doing today. We are here to remember our family members who were killed, murdered by the Nazi regime, and those who led and who were led to their deaths by government and its collaborators. These stones can only record the barest details of our family members' lives. They, of course, led much richer lives than what is recorded here. By necessity, we can't commemorate the rich tapestry of their lives here on these plaques. I also chose this verse because it does speak to that richness and tenderness that a parent has for their young child. It also speaks to the complications of the parent-child relationship. Our family members were taken in the prime of their lives. They were deprived of the length of years, and we, all of us here, were deprived of their stories, their love, their presence, and even the complications of relationships. We were also robbed of their memories of family, of our past. Our grandfather Isidore kept a diary for Miriam, which Afia referenced, and in it he speaks all kinds of he talks about all kinds of things, including an allusion to skating tours. Of the skating tours that he went on with Uncle Yap, he says, "I will not describe them in this diary, because when you read this, you will have heard ad nauseum the stories about those years." Opa never got to tell Miriam or us those adventure stories after the war. Those stories were trivial, but they formed the tapestry of their lives. But our family members' loss and all that they took with them is not trivial at all. I chose this verse as well because it speaks to the relationship a parent has with a child and the dreams for that child. Opa Isidore's attempt to speak to Miriam both as a child in her own time and also to the future Miriam who would read the diary as an adult, and to tell her what it was like, both her childhood and later on the war years. Opa Isidore wanted to remember the sweet childhood moments, but they were very serious times which clouded the lightness of the childhood experience. Now, I find it a bit paradoxical to commemorate our family with a verse from the Bible. They were committed socialists, or maybe atheists. Maybe they were agnostics. Maybe they were religious skeptics. So I'd like to address that paradox for a moment. Opa's diary gives us a lens into his thinking about many things, especially Miriam's education. He writes about her educational progress many times in the diary. Among other things, he encouraged her to be an independent thinker. That is part of our family history too, and our tradition. And that each of us has chosen our own path. And in my case, that path was to learn and to learn and to teach the Jewish tradition. As for our family members, tragically, whatever their belief system was, belief or non-believer, a practitioner of the Jewish tradition, or a practitioner of another faith or another belief system, tragically, their beliefs didn't matter, and their lives were stolen from them. Whoever they were as individuals, and whatever they believed, they were murdered because they were Jews. Let me give the last word to Opa Isidore in his last entry of Miriam's diary, recorded on 30 December 1942. Lief Miriam, 1942 has quickly come to an end. Without melancholy, we still it out. This disastrous year, or even more so, a year with disaster. What will the new year bring us? Further misery or salvation? Who will tell the future is hiding from us? Yes, you now smile. You now know how it ended. You know the history of these miserable